Hey everyone, this is Ben with BathroomBrewsMTG. I'm bringing you another 5 combos for under $1. Just like my previous combo video, these aren't in any particular order, so without further ado, let's get into it. Just like the last video, let's start off with an Izzet combo. Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator and Glint-Horn Buccaneer. I'm sure most of you have heard of this combo before, but if you haven't, it's pretty nasty, especially in budget decks. So Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator says, whenever one or more pirates you control deal damage, notice how it doesn't say combat damage, to your opponents, you create a treasure token for each opponent dealt damage. And then you have Glint-Horn Buccaneer. It has haste, and whenever you discard a card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and then you can pay 1 in a red, discard a card, and then draw a card. You can only activate this ability if Glint-Horn Buccaneer is attacking. This combo will give you near infinite damage, near infinite colored mana, and near infinite looting. The combo is pretty straightforward, but it does involve holding priority. And holding priority is weird, but it just means that you want to respond to your own spell or activated ability. It doesn't stop your opponent from being able to respond afterwards though. So you attack with Glint-Horn Buccaneer, hold priority, activate its ability by paying 1 in a red, discarding a card, and then drawing a card. It'll deal 1 damage to each opponent, triggering Malcolm, and giving you treasures for each opponent. You sack 2 treasures, and you repeat the process until the table dies or until you're out of cards. There's some interesting cards you can use to help improve this combo, even on a budget. Felden's Cane is a 1-mana artifact that you can tap and exile it to shuffle your graveyard into your library, or Enhanced Surveillance, which is a 2-mana enchantment that you can exile and shuffle your graveyard into your library, or the 5-mana instant Psychic Spiral, which lets you shuffle your graveyard into your library, then target player mills that many cards. Darksteel Colossus makes you shuffle it into your library if it's put into the graveyard from anywhere. So if it's the only card left in your library, you can discard it. Since the discarding is part of the cost and not the resolution of the effect, you can tell this because of where the colon is on the card text. Darksteel will then shuffle itself back into your library, and it being the only card, you would draw it. Then you can repeat this over and over again. Also, Zorn will give you extra treasures, so even if there's just 1 opponent left, this combo will still work. There are also creatures like Psychosis Crawler, which will deal 1 damage to each opponent whenever you draw, Reckless Fireweaver to ping off the treasures entering, or you can just give Glint-Horn Infect with an instant such as Tainted Strike. Also, after you draw your entire deck, you could just cast Thassa's Oracle to win the game. And before someone goes running into the comments, yes, you can also use Curiosity or Tandem Lookout in conjunction with Glint-Horn Buccaneer, assuming you have more than 7 cards in hand. You see, at the end step, you have to discard to reduce your hand size to 7, and whenever you discard a card, you would deal 1 damage, triggering either Curiosity or Tandem Lookout, drawing you a card. And then you have to discard again. And then you just do this over and over until you kill the table, or you run out of cards, whichever comes first. Next combo on the docket is a 3-card combo with Retreat to Coralhelm, Llanowar Scout, and Simic Growth Chamber, or any bounce land. Retreat to Coralhelm is a 3 blue mana enchantment with Landfall that you may tap or untap target creature, or scry 1. We don't care about the scrying here though. Llanowar Scout says you can tap it to put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, and Simic Growth Chamber is a tap land that says, when it enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. This combo will give you infinite landfall triggers, and infinite taps and untaps on a creature. And I'll show you how to get infinite mana from this too. One quick note, I'll be saying landfall a lot, because landfall is a keyword that means whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you do X thing. Thankfully, this combo is pretty easy to execute. Activate Llanowar Scout by tapping it, and putting Simic Growth Chamber onto the battlefield, which will trigger Coralhelm and its own ability. You then use Coralhelm's ability to untap the Scout, and you return Growth Chamber to your hand with its own ability. And now you repeat this process for infinite landfall. The non-budget option for infinite mana is using a modern staple, Amulet of Vigor. This 1-mana artifact says, whenever a permanent enters the battlefield tapped and under your control, untap it. So with this out, when Growth Chamber enters, you can use Amulet's triggered ability to untap it, letting you tap the land for 2 mana and then returning it to your hand. Then there's a commander that does something similar, Lagoon Mystic. This 4-mana Sultai legendary turtle shaman says, as long as it's untapped, other permanents enter the battlefield untapped. To get infinite mana using landfall, you have a few options. First is my favorite, Tireless Provisioner, which has landfall, make a treasure or food token. Infinite landfall means infinite treasure. Also, it means infinite life. Lotus Cobra has landfall, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. For infinite damage, you have cards like Tumbling Geopede, which say landfall, deal 1 damage to each opponent, Rampaging Baloths for infinite 4/4 beasts, or my favorite, Scribnibblers. This 3-mana rat says, tap, exile the top card of target player's library. If it's a land card, you gain 1 life. Landfall, untap Scribnibblers. So you can use this to exile everyone's library. There are 118 Commander legal landfall cards, so you have plenty of fun things you can do. Let me know what your favorite is in the comment section below. If you want infinite tokens, well, I've got the combo for you. Number 3 is Midnight Guard and Presence of Gond. Midnight Guard is a 3-mana human soldier that says, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, untap Midnight Guard. Presence of Gond is a 3-mana aura enchantment that says, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has tap, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This is one of the most straightforward combos. All you have to do is enchant Midnight Guard with Presence of Gond. Tap Midnight Guard to create an elf. When the elf enters, it'll untap Midnight Guard. Then you tap Midnight Guard, you make another elf, it'll untap it. Do this over and over again, and now you have unlimited elves. There are probably over 100 cards we can include to improve this combo. For infinite life, we have Soul's Warden, Suture Priest, or Prosperous Innkeeper, and then of course Aetherflux Reservoir to use all that life to burn the table out. If you're in red, you can just use Impact Tremors or Woody Roastmaster to burn out the table. Or if you want to self-mill, you can use Mesmeric Orb, which will mill a player whenever they untap a permanent. Or my favorite underplayed card in token decks with red, First Day of Class. I will talk about this card until I'm red in the face. Get it? Because the card's red? Anyways, this 2-mana instant will give all creatures that enter the battlefield under your control this turn haste, and has them enter with an additional +1/+1 counter on them. So, when you make all your elves, they'll enter with haste and counters, and you can swing in with a big horde of them. Also, you can run Sunstrike Legionnaire instead of Midnight Guard, since it's only 2 mana instead of 3, and has essentially the same ability. Just something I wanted to share with you. Not much else to say about this combo, it's pretty straightforward. Want to know what else is pretty straightforward? Hitting that like button. It really helps out the channel, and if we can get this video to 50 likes by next Saturday, I'll release another combo video, but upping the budget to $5. Our 4th combo is none other than Dual Caster Mage and Displace. Dual Caster Mage is a 3-mana 2/2 human wizard with flash and says, when it enters the battlefield, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new copies for the target. And Displace is a 3-mana instant that says exile up to 2 target creatures you control, then return them to the battlefield under their owner's control. I can already see you typing the comment, yeah, but Ghostly Flicker works too. I know it does. But this is combos for under $1, Ghostly Flicker is over $1, but Ghostly Flicker does let you flicker artifacts and lands for easy infinite mana. But that isn't the combo we're talking about right now. Oh, and this combo also works with Narumeha, Wizard Master, but back on track. This is another one of those combos that requires holding priority. So you cast Displace, target another creature you control. Holding priority, you cast Dual Caster Mage. Once it resolves, Dual Caster Mage will enter the battlefield, letting you copy Displace since it's still on the stack. You create a copy of Displace, targeting Dual Caster Mage, and another creature if you so desire. This copy of Displace will resolve, flickering Dual Caster Mage and that other creature, and now you just repeat this process over and over again. A few things before I get into the combo enhancers that might be a little confusing for newer players. If you're new to Magic, you might be wondering how this combo works, or why it works. You see, the stack resolves top down. For my fellow accounting nerds out there, it's LIFO, or last in, first out. Because the original Displace is on the bottom of the stack, so long as we keep putting triggers onto the stack, it will not resolve until everything else does. Oh, and Dual Caster's ability isn't a May trigger, so if there's an instant or sorcery on the stack, you will have to copy it. But since Displace has up to 2 target creatures, you can copy it and pick none and stop the combo. Dual Caster Mage copies the spells, so you aren't casting a new copy of it. So cards like Aetherflux Reservoir won't trigger off the copies. Casting a copy and creating a copy are 2 different things. However, Magecraft will work with this because Magecraft says copy or cast. So Professor Onyx will drain out the entire table, Sedgemoor Witch will give you infinite 1/1 pests, Stormkiln Artist gives you infinite mana, Witherbloom Apprentice will also drain the table, Dika Fractal Theorist will give you infinite fractals with 3+1/+1 counters on them, and finally Archmage Emeritus will let you draw your entire library. And let's not forget about Venerated Rot Priest from Phyrexia Allaby 1. This 1-mana creature says, whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. So if we have this out and the combo going off, we can infect out the entire table. Or we can always use everyone's favorite zombie, Gary, otherwise known as Grey Merchant of Asphodel. So pick your favorite ETB creature and just include it in this combo. You'll have fun with it. And last but not least, let's gain some infinite life. Number 5 is Spike Feeder, a 3-mana 0/0 Spike. Yes, Spike is its creature type. Shouldn't be surprised, we do have Commander Legal Clowns, which are just worse. Sorry for the tangent, I just absolutely hate clowns. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Spike Feeder enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. You can pay 2 generic to remove a +1/+1 counter from it to put a counter on another target creature you control, or you can just remove a +1/+1 counter and gain 2 life. There are a lot of ways to gain infinite life with this card, from Heliod the Suncrowned to Archangel of Thune, both of which are very expensive. So instead, let's use Sunbound, a 4-mana white enchantment aura that says, enchant creature, and enchanted creature has whenever you gain life, put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature. So all you have to do is enchant Spike Feeder with the aura, remove a +1/+1 counter, you'll gain 2 life, and put 2 counters on good old Spike. Now repeat this for infinite life. Of course, infinite life doesn't mean anything if you can't win with it. After all, there is commander damage, infect, and just I win the game or you lose the game cards. Aetherflux Reservoir will let you spend that life to blast everyone like Danny DeVito. You can use cards like Treasonous Ogre for infinite red mana. Veto Thorn of Duskrose will let you drain an opponent whenever you gain life. Same thing with Sanguine Bond. Or Marauding Blight Priest to cause each opponent to lose 1 life whenever you gain life. And finally, something like Drogskull Reaver will let you draw your entire deck. There are also plenty of creatures like a Johnny's Pridemate that will grow as you gain life, but unless you have multiple creatures with similar abilities and a way to give them trample, I would stick with the cards mentioned above. And with that, thanks for watching. Special shout out to my patrons shown on screen here. If you'd like to join them in supporting the channel, you can find my Patreon linked in the video description below. Special thanks to Garrick Morgan for creating my intro music. You can find all of his socials also in the video description. And if you want to check out my first combo video, I'll have that over here on the left. And if you want to see my top 10 commons and uncommons from Phyrexia All V1, click on the video on the right. And don't forget to hit that like button. And as always, this has been Ben with BathroomBrewsMTG. And remember, always wash your hands.